You may know the Masters Golf Tournament for its green jackets, pimento cheese sandwiches, and incredible performances. Can't help but think of Tiger in 2019. But interestingly enough, the Masters is actually responsible for a real estate tax loophole for every homeowner. Now, this isn't me being dramatic or just doing this for clickbait. It's literally called the Augusta Rule. It was a rule passed in the 1970s, brought about by a group of influential lobbyists, most hailing from the Augusta, Georgia region. Now, apparently these well-to-do folks had been renting their mansions to golfers and fans for years and years tax-free, and this was being threatened by some tax legislation in the 70s. So this well-connected group of country club elites got together, called their connections, and successfully lobbied Washington to pass the Augusta Rule. What this rule says is that you can rent a personal residence for up to 14 days completely tax-free. And if you don't believe me, it's section 280AG of the tax code, and I linked it below. But basically, if you have a home for personal use, meaning your primary residence or vacation home, you can rent that tax-free, no questions asked, for up to 14 days. And initially you may be like, well, how much money can you really make in 2 weeks? And the answer is, if you have the right location and or the right event in town, a shit ton. To keep with the Augusta topic here, I did a little digging on prices in that town and found this website, the Masters Housing Bureau, which seems to be the leading source for rentals for the tournament. According to their recommended pricing, which you can see here, if you had a bigger high-end house close to the course, you could fetch up to 25 grand in 1 week. Now, assuming these are high net worth individuals that own these, they're probably looking at an income tax rate of around 37%. So the Augusta Rule allows them to avoid income taxes of $9,250 just for the tournament week alone. And this is based on recommended pricing. These aren't even actual bookings, so for all we know, it could be even more. As with many pieces of legislation, there are unintended consequences. During my research, I actually found that this is a little known tactic for creating a tax shelter for companies. Because the Augusta Rule doesn't specify who can rent the property, the guest could very well be a corporation. Better yet, if you own a corporation and a vacation home, it appears that you can rent your home to your business, which creates a tax shelter because the money you pay for the accommodations is a write-off for your business since it's an expense. And if it's under the 14 days of the Augusta Rule, it's tax-free rental income to you personally. I didn't go down the rabbit hole too far with this, so I'm not advocating for this particular strategy. And I'm sure there's many other nuances to the legality of this, but it definitely looks like it's being done. So clearly elites are benefiting from the Augusta Rule, but it does apply to all homeowners. So how can you take advantage? The first way is if you live in a desirable area, maybe in a city or a popular small town with some sort of tourism industry, you can rent out your place for up to 14 days during a busy time, and depending on the rates, could make a decent chunk. Maybe you use it to offset a vacation when you're not there. Maybe you just visit family and pocket all the income tax free. There's definitely some good opportunity there for average homeowners. Next, if you're maybe not in a popular area for tourism, pay attention to any big events coming even within like an hour drive. An example for me in Boston is the marathon. There's just always a huge influx of visitors for a week, and even towns a bit further from the city could capitalize on the demand because there's just not enough accommodations. Another example that applies to 11 metro areas in the US in 2026 is the world's most popular sporting event, the World Cup. If you're even considering the use of the Augusta Rule, I would highly recommend you look into it if you're within an hour or so drive of any of the match venues for the World Cup. If you're interested in hearing exactly how you could turn your personal residence into a tax-free revenue source for the World Cup, definitely subscribe because I'll be releasing a full how-to video on that in the not-so-distant future. And if you're enjoying this content, please consider throwing me a like for all my hard work on this. Even though the Augusta Rule applies to all homeowners, it's far from fair due to the fact that if you own a house in an extremely desirable area, on a golf course, on the water, etc., those are the properties that will be able to generate the most tax-free income, and those are the places wealthy individuals already own. My hope for this video is that it reaches some homeowners who could utilize the Augusta Rule to help improve their bottom line a bit with a couple weeks of tax-free income. If you'd like to check out my other popular real estate videos, you can do so here. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next video.